when you're strange. Faces come out of the rain when you're strange. No one remembers your name when you're strange. When you're strange, when you're strange. Alright, yeah.
This is my duty. What is funny about my duty? You know I take my duty quite seriously. But if I reach behind your ear, it will not be a nickel I pull out, but your very soul! Oh, yes, duty, clever. Who wants pizza rolls? Pumpkin! Get me my cloak!
Why don't you wear the...
All right, fine. Get me my blue windbreaker!
When you're strange, when you're strange, when you're strange.
Do not be too hasty entering that room. I had Taco Bell for lunch.
9 billion names of pod.
From Atlanta,
one of the few cities in Georgia not part of the dark dimension.
It's the 9 billion names of pod with Dan Bauman and Michael Reed. I'm Dan Bauman.
I'm Sorcerer Supreme. Hold the ham.
So let's talk about some stuff.
Nom 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 nom.
Sorcerer Supreme without
or
with
extra
cheese.
ham.
Yeah. Yes, we saw the latest Marvel movie last night. We caught Doctor Strange
With Benedict Cumberbatch.
the most English-sounding name ever.
Oh, good grief. That name sounds like it has been inbred over generations, you know.
Yeah, I never read any Doctor Strange. I'm sure you didn't.
Nope.
Yeah, you didn't read some of the big ones, so
I
much
will
less.
just state for the record, I thumbed through a She-Hulk at a 7-Eleven back in 1980, blah, 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 and that is the entirety
Of your comic reading?
Of my comic book reading.
Yes. Yeah, I haven't read any. I mean, I went into this the same way I went into the original Ben Affleck Daredevil, which was, I don't know anything about it. Oh, that was all right. And then now that I've seen the Netflix Daredevil.
You thought that was all right?
At the time, yeah. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. He can't see and all this stuff. And now,
Okay.
and now after seeing the real Daredevil and having read some of the books, like, oh, that was not good at all. She's not supposed to be Midwestern. She's supposed to be Greek.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And actually, I was going through my list of films I want to see, and it happened to be in the EFG section, and looked, and for some reason, Electro was in there. I went, I saw that. I never want to see that again. I could not delete that film hard enough.
Yeah.
I went into the backups to delete it from there so it would never show up on my list again.
Right.
Because... No. Sydney Bristow does not need no. Just no. That'll be a no.
So going into Doctor Strange, it was kind of cool because it was like, well,
Clean slate.
No idea. Like, I mean, I knew who he was. I knew his name. I knew it was magic based, and that was kind of about it.
Pretty much my entire knowledge of Doctor Strange outside of the trailers was his caricature on Venture Brothers.
Yes.
Dr. Morpheus.
Yes.
And like, okay, then let's look for some of that.
Yeah. I remember there was a big thing at Comic-Con this summer where that was kind of the only big drop that Marvel did, was they dropped the final full trailer for Doctor Strange. You know, DC had like the Wonder Woman and Justice League and all that stuff. And it was like, looks all right. Looks interesting.
Could be cool. Yeah, that's one thing that Marvel has a knack for. They're able to pull out of their B and sometimes C list and come up with pretty darn... I mean, Guardians, hello.
Oh, yeah. Guardians is like the gold standard.
I mean, I had vaguely heard of Doctor Strange just in the ether, but I had never heard of a single one of the characters in Guardians.
Oh, right.
So,
right.
I mean, it's not their tentpole, Spider-Man,
Captain America.
Thor,
No, that was one of those things where even, comic book readers were like, why the hell, why is anybody making this movie?
And you know why these movies are good?
Why?
Starts with a W.
Oh, well, yes, the writing for
It's
sure.
the writing!
But it's also the right people seem to be making these movies. Like James
Yeah.
Gunn wanted to make this movie, like
Right.
wanted to make Guardians. And I'm not sure who directed Strange, but
I read an interview today with a gentleman, and he made some very good points in the sense that a lot of these Marvel films. Oh, by the way, spoilers.
oh yeah, we're gonna spoil the crap out of it.
Doctor
If you haven't seen it
Strange
yet,
spoilers. Just stop, come back to it. You'll be fine.
yeah,
One of the things he noticed about a lot in his pitch to Kevin Feige was a lot of these Marvel films end up with a portal needing to be closed and a big destructive battle at the end.
Yeah.
And he went, what if we opened a portal and reversed the destruction at the end?
yeah,
And Kevin Feige went, yes.
yeah.
He was liking that. And another thing, I don't know if you noticed it, what's one thing in Doctor Strange that's in the other films that is not one bit in this film anywhere?
I need more.
It's one of the amendments
One of the amendments
of our Constitution.
You've oh yes. I read
Not
that.
a
read it all.
single gun.
Not a single gun, and that
Not
was
a
very
single
cool.
gun.
Yeah,
This is the world of the mystical. Nothing just, how mystical can a gun be?
right. They said that's the least magical thing you
Ever.
you
Yeah.
could possibly think of.
Exactly.
That,
So-
which is cool. Yeah, I didn't notice that while watching it, but
Well,
I
I didn't
read
go,
that.
oh man, if only they had guns right. I never thought that because that's.
It was all. I mean, there were a few weapons, but they were still mystical weapons.
Oh yeah,
for
weapons,
the most
but
part.
not like Indiana Jones
But I
pulls
mean-
out and goes boom and kills the
Right,
guy.
but I mean, it wasn't just magic. There was a few like enchanted weapons,
right,
as well.
exactly.
But
none
yeah.
of them were enchanted
Guns.
AK-47s
Right,
or handguns.
right.
Exactly. So I thought that was good.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I remember the name of the director, but apparently he pitched. He was a fan of Doctor Strange and came at it, and Feige went, yeah. And then of course he gave him the 2 or 3. You have to include this in.
Yeah.
So,
But there wasn't that much. Well, I mean, we'll get into the Easter eggs and stuff, but this was a very Marvel Universe light movie. This was a very standalone movie.
Did you notice the one in the? I think pretty much at the beginning they did kind of a city, shot, and you could see the Avengers Tower.
Yes, yeah.
in the
I
background.
kept looking for it, and I caught it in. There's a couple of scenes where you can see the Avengers Tower, which
Yeah.
is about the only big Easter egg. Well, it's not even an Easter egg. It's just that's part of
Right. Well,
the landscape.
For people who are wondering, is this part of the same?
Yeah.
Yes, it's all part of the same.
They said
universe.
there's kind of a discrepancy because of the tag at the end, which we'll get to, it puts it in a certain timeline,
Right.
And it kind of throws the other timelines off, but they'll figure it out. They'll get it worked out.
I'll get it. And of course, Tilda Swinton's character, which we will talk about ad nauseum.
Yes, in depth.
because Tilda Swinton, I'm a Tildren.
Is that a thing?
I'm a child of Tilda. I'm a Tildren. She mentioned much as your Avengers deal with the physical world or whatever she said. We deal with the more metaphysical world.
That was actually Wong who said that, who brought up the Avengers. He said the event. Yeah, that was.
Was it Wong?
Yeah,
I thought it
Wong.
was Tilda.
No, it was Wong. He said the Avengers protect the physical world.
You mean Beyonce?
Yes,
You mean Madonna?
but
Cher?
Adele.
Drake? Anybody? Oh, yeah. And it's,
I'm sorry, not to cut you off. I want an entire movie with just Wong and the physical therapy guy who got the file on Benjamin Bratt for him. I want a movie of just those two guys because those two guys were fucking great.
told you so.
Yeah, if it's gonna prove your arrogant ass wrong, I want to do it.
And this is where we have to give a major tip o' the hat to Scott Derrickson, C. Robert Cargill, and John Spates.
Okay.
These are the writers.
Ah, yes.
Oh my God. That film had not as much comedy as Guardians, but it was so judiciously used and in exactly the right time that I chuckled probably a good 15 times.
Oh, yeah.
And it didn't take you out of the film. You got past it really quickly.
Well, that's always been the the complaints about the DC movies is there's no fun. There's no fun.
Do you bleed?
You know, I mean, Suicide Squad really fixed that, and they went back and fixed that on the reshoots.
I'm using air quotes around fixed when I say.
Well, okay, but I mean, at least there were some laughs in it. You know, there ain't any laughs in Batman Superman. You know, Suicide Squad.
Oh, I laugh, just not appropriate.
Not appropriately.
Yeah.
So yeah, they definitely. It's not Deadpool and it's not Guardians, but there were definitely some.
Let's face it, Deadpool and Guardians are basically
they're
comedy action films. As the other ones, not really action comedy, but
no, they're action
films. With comedic. Like Indiana Jones has about half a dozen really solid, good jokes.
Yes.
You know, with the mirror and the shooting the guy and why it always have to be snakes and stuff like that. But you never think of it as a comedy. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Doctor Strange. There's a lot more comedy in it, but you don't think of it as a comedic film.
Right.
But it takes you on an emotional roller coaster, so you're not constantly, tensing up. So by the time you're done watching Batman v Superman, you just want to, I don't know, confess to your priest and crawl into a corner and cry.
So Benedict Cumberbatch definitely cracked a bunch of jokes, and he was trying to make him kind of smarmy and sleazy, and he's a dick at the beginning. I mean, some of the things he says to Rachel McAdams are just fucking terrible. Yeah, he's just
like, I'm sorry, Doctor Strange. It's not the 60s, 70s anymore. Women aren't going to put up with that shit.
Right.
You tell him off, he's like, fine, here's your key. Bye.
Yeah.
Not answering your emails. Yep. Of course, her heart melts at the end because blah, blah, blah.
But,
that's one thing that they didn't really, I don't know where they would have put it, but they really didn't establish the bond between the two of them. Mm-hmm. Quite as much as they could to support some of the stuff that happens afterwards, but
she was a little light for me. I would have liked a little more agency with her. I would have a
little more gristle on the bone.
Yeah, I mean, not every character, especially female, needs to be the kick-ass, but
right.
It would have been nice to see a little bit more backbone on her. She was good. I thought she was really
I love
good.
Rachel McAdams.
Yeah.
She does fine, even in some of the crap films she's done.
Yeah.
But we'll always have the Notebook, Dan. We'll always have the Notebook. She does. She did fine. She's one step above a Rene Russo. And for those who don't know, my Rene Russo rule is, she's an adequate actress. She does her job and leaves no residue of her performance with you when you leave the theater. You don't love her. You don't hate her. This is for me. This is for me. Everyone has their own Rene Russo. Like, I don't hate her. I don't love her. It's just like, all right, she did the job.
Yeah.
And now we're done. And Rachel McAdams in this film was like that.
Yeah,
a little bit more, but
I don't think that's on her though. I think that was that was writing.
I think that what was Doctor Strange at, like 210, 220 time-wise?
It
was
something like that.
At a certain point, once you start getting near the 2.5 hour mark, you start losing income from theaters that can't cram in an extra showing.
Right.
And a lot of times, that's why these 3 hour, 4 hour epics may be in theaters for a week and then they're gone because, a $15 ticket to one film that takes up the time that you could be selling 2 tickets, they're not making money.
And not everybody is us. Not everyone's going to sit through a 4 hour movie.
That's right.
A lot of people are like, that's 4 hours. I'm not doing that.
Like, what? You're showing the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy, director's cut in the theater with no interruption? Well, consider my butt numbed, and I'm,
Yeah. Didn't we? We did one of them, didn't we?
We did the
Two
first
Towers,
2.
I think.
We did the first 2.
Did we do the first 2?
In the theater, and the run-up.
Like the extended cuts.
The extended cuts. Yeah. Let me tell you, I could have used a catheter.
Yeah, they were,
But since it was the extended cuts, I could sit there and go, all right, I remember this from the
this
original,
part,
and I'm going to go piss now.
Yeah.
Come back, and hopefully nothing dramatic has happened.
Right.
A couple of observations that I wanted to throw out there. Have you noticed, or did you notice, or would you now please notice, that Benedict Cumberbatch and Hugh Laurie sound very similar when affecting an American accent?
Yes.
I never watched an episode of House, but I've seen clips and like coming next, and I just shook my head and went, my God, that sounds like House.
Yeah, I watched a good, 3-4 seasons of House. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
And his, that's the exact same observation.
Very House. Okay.
Because I saw when I was watching the trailers, I was like, his accent's not real good. I was not impressed. And then after hearing him do it, I was like, oh, he's doing Hugh Laurie.
He's kind of House in it.
And
I mean, it's a choice. It never took me out of the film.
It might just be the only way you could have done it.
Yeah, it's possible.
He's a phenomenal actor. But he might not be able to do an American accent.
Yeah,
It was okay. It was okay.
After making that, realization, having that realization during the film, then I filed it aside and it never bothered me again.
Yeah.
But I remember going, that's very Hugh Laurie-like.
Yeah, I got that about halfway through. I was like, oh, that's why that's what it sounds like to me. Yeah.
And did you notice how very well they slowly crept the white into his temples? Mm-hmm. Very I mean, like you could count the hairs at the beginning that went white, and by the end he was, he was Polly Walnuts.
Well, that's what he looks like. He
Right.
I gotta say they made him look perfect, like Stephen Strange right out of the comics. I mean, down to the cape and the Eye of Agamotto, and the Marvel really was into the whole graying temples thing. I mean, the original Nick Fury, which was not Samuel L. Jackson, he was the same thing. He had a flat top, but he had the graying sideburns, the graying temples. Reed Richards, the graying temples. They were really into that look for a long time. Well,
because some of us start getting gray hairs in our 30s now, so we have to make it a social norm. That's like, just because there's a couple gray hairs doesn't mean it's grandpa time yet.
Yeah.
There's still kick-assery to be done. Mm-hmm. So, let's give a hand for Clokey.
Clokey? Oh, yes.
I mean, I just that aforementioned film you want to see, throw Clokey in there as the sidekick.
They basically Aladdin's carpet.
Exactly.
They Aladdin's carpeted the cape of levitation, his cloak, and they made it basically sentient, and that that was Mordo says at one point the relic chooses the wand chooses the wizard.
And I thought it was going to be the that eye, the amulet, because I thought, but he chose that, so I'm going, okay.
Yeah, he basically stole that.
But as soon as he went into, I think it was the New York.
The New York Sanctum.
As soon as he went there and the cloak was bobbing up and down, I went, oh, there's the cloak. That's going to come back.
As soon as he said it, I was like, I'm just going to read the cloak. But but it was so well done, and it was helping him, and it was hilarious. It was it fell in love with him immediately.
Oh yeah, it was all about
very CG. It was what Spawn was trying to do back in the 90s, which before CG and
no, we had CG in the 90s,
just not to
great
that
CG.
Effect. Yeah, and
not
Spawn,
everyone had the budget to do Terminator 2 type CG,
and that's a very big comic thing, like the huge, capes. Batman's cape is, almost alive, and Spawn's cape was alive. It was part of his thing.
Like,
and
hey,
Doctor
Batman,
Strange is.
How do you fight crime, Batman, with that cape that flows back 20 feet?
Exactly.
I mean, how many times have you
you stepped on it and tripped over it?
I'm just saying,
But the enchanted cape, that's exactly what it should look like.
Yeah.
It's alive and moves like that.
Now, my favorite cape bit.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange shedding a tear over, I think, the ancient one. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And the little lapel of the cape just came up and dabbed his tears. Like, get away.
Get away.
Guess what?
What?
That was Benedict Cumberbatch's idea.
Was it?
Not in the script.
Really?
And on the set when they were filming, he goes, what about? I'm like, yeah, put your collar like this and we'll make it happen in post. And they did. And I'm like, that's good.
That is good.
See, that's why... I give a fair amount of credit to a director. I give 99.9% of the credit to the writers. But let me tell you, when you put something together, for those of us who work in theater, like us, reading a script and seeing it performed are two different things. Much like studying how to drive a car and then actually driving a car, you're going to get a different experience. It's not the same thing, and it's not the same thing for everybody. So once you get that good casting, that good director's eye and that good writing together. There's a little improvisation that happens.
Well, it's collaboration is kind of the biggest thing.
Okay, collaboration. Basically, collaboration in the sense that an actor can say, "What about this?" And no, I am the director.
Yeah.
What I say goes.
You know, best idea wins is, or funniest idea wins. That's the way it should be.
Exactly.
No matter who has ideas.
Unless you're doing a remake of, of Schindler's List, then the funniest idea needs to go away.
Yes.
Why are you remaking Schindler's List, and why are you making it a comedy? You're an awful person. Just stop. I got to give heads hat tip again to Mads Mikkelsen, the villain supreme.
Yeah.
I mean, Hannibal Lecter. He was
he's creeping up on what's his name, on Christoph Waltz for the best villain guy.
Or Michael Ironside from the 80s and 90s. And I don't know if his character is going to be bad or good in Rogue One, but he plays Galen Erso.
Yep.
So, I mean, he apparently is instrumental in the creation of the Death Star, but is he forced? Has he been turned? Is he playing a game? We don't know.
We'll find out.
And when are we going to get some Grand Moff Tarkin action? Because he's alive in that time frame right there.
In charge.
He's running the show.
Yep.
I'm wondering if that one character we keep seeing is like they're just not even going to try to match Peter Cushing. I'm hoping that if they're going to have Grand Moff Tarkin, they're going to try to make it Cushing, or just, I've just heard from Tarkin.
Yeah.
And he's on another ship.
Yeah, that's what I'm
hoping.
hoping. I don't even try. Just like, Governor Tarkin is on his way.
Right, exactly.
And never show him. That would be fine with me.
Yeah, but once again, we're done. We're going into Star Wars territory.
Yes.
Let's bring it back to Strange.
Yeah.
There has got to be more Benjamin Bratt on the cutting floor. There has to be. He's not A-list, but he's high B. I mean, he's a solidly recognized actor.
But his contribution, his story was pretty much resolved. I mean, what we saw of it. I mean, he had a full,
of his
he served
2.5 minutes of screen time.
But that's all he needed.
This is the thing that being such a cinephile that fucks with me watching a film. I'll watch a film and I'll say, "Oh, look, there's that person," and they're dead. I'm like, "No, they're not. No, they're not. This is an A-list star. You're not killing off. They'll be back." And sure enough, 99% of the time, they're back.
Yeah, but I mean,
and now, obviously, Benjamin Bratt, he may be like, "Fuck, I just want to be part of the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
I'll do it for free. Who gives a shit, you know?" But a lot of times, I mean, I'm sure you've noticed this. You're watching a film like,
of course,
oh, that person, and they're dead or they're crippled or whatever. And you're like, yeah, that's not going to last because they're A-list. Or will they make it to the sequel? Like, of course they're going to make it to the sequel. We know that.
Okay, well, we'll see. I don't know about.
I'm just waiting to see if when the DVD comes out, when the Blu-ray comes out. I guess DVDs are pretty much over for the most part.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all digital now. It doesn't matter. It's all streaming.
I tell you, I'm going to be one of those grandpas out there. For films that I love, I don't want it, in the cloud where they can pluck it out of the cloud and go, "Oh, whoops, sorry.
Yeah.
We've done a new version here. We're putting back the new version." Like, fuck you, Lucas. I got my originals on disc, and you can eat a dick.
I like, I'm a hard copy guy.
That's right.
Still,
I mean, for 99% of the stuff, who gives
it depends on what it is. Some stuff, it's like, I'm just going to stream that, watch it, and be done.
Exactly.
But like stuff that I love, I'm fucking Disney, man. They're the 3D version of Force Awakens is coming out. And it's like, oh, what do I care about that? Oh, except for all the new extras and deleted scenes. It's
of
like
course.
I'm gonna have to find somewhere.
Yes, you still heard us, George, even though you're out of the. Well, now it's Disney.
Yeah. Speaking of Disney,
What do they own? Every franchise on
all the
planet?
good ones, all the big ones.
I can't think of a single franchise that they're not in the middle of.
Well, I mean, everybody's trying to like Universal is starting their own franchise with the monster movies. They're doing like remakes of all. They're gonna have a big connected universe.
Hey, listen, if they can redo, the modern day Prometheus and make Frankenstein an actually, a compelling remake. The original one was very compelling.
Yeah.
If you were watching it at a certain level. And some people just watch monster, fire, burn, like that.
Yeah.
But there's a whole lot of shit going on there.
Well, if you've actually read,
Exactly.
The book has nothing to do with it, really.
Right.
But they're planning a whole shared universe thing with definitely, Frankenstein the Mummy. What?
We had Abbott and Costello meet the Mummy. Now it's Jay and Silent Bob meet Dracula. Dude,
Pitch that shit.
I'm greenlighting that. I don't care what anyone says. It's greenlit. Sue
Kev,
me.
you could have the rights. Just do it.
Exactly. It's like, I want no profit, no credit. Just make the film happen. Oh, my God.
I'm in.
Oh, my God. That would be so fucking... Jay and Silent Bob and does all the creature films. Oh, my God. You know, Jay would be like, hey, Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah. You're looking good.
Tilda frickin' Swinton.
She was unbelievably great.
She is just ethereal
and perfect. I mean, there was a lot of controversy behind that.
Yeah,
casting.
I wanted to address that. Now they had not knowing any of the backstory on Doctor Strange. The way they presented in the film is that she's an ancient one, she's female, and she's Celtic, which. Now, from what I understand, she's supposed to be Asian.
And a man, from what I
and
understand.
A man?
Or like androgynous, which would fit. But I think it's supposed to be I think it's very kung fu. It's very...
Okay. Well, I mean, she's in Nepal, you would think. But that doesn't, somehow it's not as mystical if you end up like in, Cardiff or... you go to Wales or go to, Northern Ireland to have your training.
Yeah.
It has to be some... And that I think that is just...
I think I completely 100% agree with casting and then finding the right actor for the character and then tailoring the character around and making the necessary changes because she was perfect.
And it's not like they whitewashed the whole thing. There's plenty of actors of color and, Asians, African American.
And again, I don't know because Mordo is a character from the books, from what I understand, and I'm not sure if he's African American or not, or African. He's because he's British. So what is he? He's black, yes, but
he's a Brit of color. I don't. How about just a guy?
Yeah,
who gives a shit?
Right, right. But I don't know if in the comics he's black or not.
Oh.
So, but it doesn't matter. Again, Chiwetel Ejiofor is a phenomenal actor.
Oh, good God, yes. And I think he's going to be pretty prevalent. He's definitely going to be prevalent in Doctor Strange too.
Yep.
Because spoilers, he's had a revelation.
Yes.
And poor Benjamin Bradley. Hey, I'm just a guy. I'm not out. I haven't got a cape.
Yeah.
Just this.
Yes, I'm leeching off magic, but just to keep myself healthy and alive and to walk. It's not that bad,
Oh, you fucker. So
too many sorcerers. That was what he said. It's like, oof. So now it's gonna be a big old fight.
Yeah. Well, it always.
But back to Tilda Swinton.
Tilda Swinton. It's weird. I'm attracted to her, but not in the sense that she is such a fine actress that does such quality work. It's just like I'm drawn to her performances.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, she's a cutie pie. Although, she's,
She's attractive. She's very unique looking. Very interesting.
Have you seen Orlando?
No, I have not.
Just see Orlando. People out there, just see Orlando and then talk to me about Tilda Swinton.
The very first thing I ever noticed her in was the first Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the first Chronicles of Narnia.
Perfect.
As the White Queen, I was like, this person doesn't look like a person. This looks like a fictional character,
yes.
A mystical character. And
she pulled that shit off brilliantly.
And, they just built on what she actually looks like. She's so strange and unique and dynamic looking that it's easy to turn her into something else like that. And, just shaving her head and making her the ancient one is like,
I looked carefully. It's like, Tilda's the kind of actress who would shave her head.
I'm sure she did,
And it's like, listen, honey, this is Marvel. We're not doing any bald cap on you.
No.
She's like, that was
shave your
never a
head
question. I will shave the fuck out of
for
anything.
8 months or however long it takes. You'll be fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, she's wonderful.
I will say one of my favorite things about her, which leads into more of the actual overall of the movie, is I want to say Tai Chi based movements that spur the magic. And her movement, the fluidity
the fluidity and the economy of actual movement. I'm coming at you like a freight train. I leaned a bit to the left, and you're completely helpless.
Right. And
your attack is
the way they conjure the magic is with gestures, which is very standard in this type of movie. But it was all seemed very Eastern and very Tai Chi based, and I loved that at it. The effects in this movie were unbelievable.
Yeah, if MC Escher were alive today, his boner from Labyrinth would have deflated and would have popped right back up for this one 100 times.
This from what I understand, the Doctor Strange comics were very big in the late 60s, early 70s. So when Steve Ditko and Stan Lee created them, they were very
counter-culture.
Yes, it was the very weird, trippy,
well,
psychedelic.
You noticed, if you had been reading that, like I have, no, I haven't, but I did a little research.
So did I, yeah.
The Dark Dimension is taken directly out of Ditka's panels.
Yes.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
And the first thing I noticed, having obviously never read Doctor Strange, is like, it looks like cancer.
Yeah.
It looks like cells and like connections and synapses, but they're somehow diseased and corroded.
Yeah.
And of course, psychedelic and groovy, baby, at the same time. And I went, it's like cancer.
Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder if that's going to... And of course, it didn't, but I think it was just an aesthetic they chose,
Yep.
To kind of to riff on
the
original panels.
It's almost primal because it's in your immediate thing was cancer, so bad.
Right.
It immediately thinks of
right. I didn't think of happy fluffy bunnies and
it's a
unicorns.
it's a perfect like subconscious thing.
And that is called good filmmaking.
Yeah,
if it gives you a sense of dread without there's nothing there to make you feel dread. Why am I feeling dread? It's just the aesthetic and what they chose, and sometimes just the underscore of a scene.
Yeah,
or my favorite films that have no underscore in places, so you're like, I don't know what to feel, and that makes you even more unsettled than if there was like, this is the ominous music. You're supposed to like something's about to happen.
You can feel the jump coming.
Yeah, exactly.
They're gonna jump out and
exactly.
Now my biggest problem with this type of movie over the last couple of years is, and with Suicide Squad and with Batman, Superman, and with bunch of the Marvel movies.
Not enough swear words?
No, not that. There was a few, but no. Every one of these movies has seemed to have been a lead up to a big giant CG fight in the third act at the end, and fighting a big CG thing. And it didn't bother me this time because there's so much effect in this movie that it.
But that's the opposite of what they did in this film.
Yes,
we talked about this earlier. Portal, close the portal. Nope, we're going to open a portal.
Right.
We're the city's being destroyed. Hey, it's already destroyed. We're going to put it back.
Right, and it was a really cool way to resolve that. Instead of I'm going to fight and kill and destroy the thing, I'm basically going to annoy it until it stops.
Right. I'm sure the citizens of Gotham is like, let's see, be under Zod's rule or have the whole city leveled with Zod gone. You know what? Zod's okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to keep our buildings and our lives, and Zod can take care of us.
Yeah. Yeah. We're either going to get the city is going to be destroyed by Zod or by you two lunatics who are going to destroy it anyway by trying to save us.
Just thanks.
Yeah.
Insurance rates in Gotham must be fucking insane. Or Metropolis, or what's the name of the city? Capital City. Is that the one they use in Supergirl?
National City.
National City.
Yep.
Which is funny because where I grew up in San Diego, we have a National City. It's the Mile of Cars.
Mile of Cars.
The Mile of Cars. Basically, every car dealership on the planet has a dealership on the Mile of Cars in National City. It's like, hey, I want to get some chicken. No, cars. It's like, hey, can we go get some groceries? No, fuck you, cars.
We have a couple of runs like
cars,
that here
cars,
in
cars.
Atlanta.
Well, Peachtree Industrial has a stretch.
Cobb Parkway has a stretch. Alpharetta has a stretch. So, yeah.
And for all my folks in San Diego, this is for you. See Pearson Ford, they stand alone at Fairmont and El Cajon. Yeah. Okay, moving on.
Moving on.
I noticed in the credits that the second unit for shooting in Nepal was, you could probably fit them all in a minivan. So that tells me that they did some B-roll, some street scenes, and some, shots of the general city, and then everything else was done in a studio.
Yeah.
Which, when you think about it, there wasn't a lot of action, too much action happening outside of
right,
Comertage.
and you can recreate that. So, I mean, yes, they put him on Everest, but they didn't really put him on Everest. So you don't need to go to Everest to do that shot.
And let's face it, at that elevation, 30 minutes to die, like 5 minutes to die.
Yeah, we said you'll go into shock in 2.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I thought that was good. And you notice the Ancient One's face and like waiting. She's like, he'll do it. I don't know if he's going to do it.
I think he'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, she's being all assured to, what's his name?
Oh, Mordo.
Mordo.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll do it.
Yeah.
And you look at her face and she's like, yeah, he'll be there.
Yeah. Hope he will. I don't want to have to go get him. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty good.
Yep.
What other thoughts do you have on?
One thing I really did like, and I think I kind of mentioned this before. When we were talking about the Avengers Tower, I was keeping my eye out for Easter eggs. I always go in looking, and I'm like, okay, what's it going to be? What's it going to be? What's it going to be? And there are a very little few, which I also read.
Are there little or are there a few? Now make up your mind.
Well, they're both. There's a few, and they're very little. But what I liked, and I'll get into the Easter eggs in a second, what I liked about this movie is, like I said before, very standalone. It wasn't peppered with connections to all this other shit. It just kind of was what it was.
It was the opposite of Batman v Superman. You could have never watched a film before in your entire life of any sort.
Yeah.
Watch that and go, I understand it.
Yeah, it was a complete film. And it wasn't Age of Ultron, where it was like, well, I'm going to do this, which is going to lead to that, and I'm going to do this, which is going to lead to that. Yes, there was the mention of the Infinity Stone, which is going to be the big deal coming in Infinity War. Right? Everybody knows that, and that was a big drop. The first one I noticed, and they said this is what kind of screwed the timeline up, when he was riding in the car, and before the big crash.
Don't text and drive.
Yes.
Or don't read
X-rays
and
or
drive.
MRIs.
Yeah, no MRIs in driving, kids. Promise me.
When they're running down the list of patients, they say the first one was a 35-year-old.
Nope, it's not.
It is, but it's not.
No,
I read the article. I read an article. He said it's not. But it kind of is.
It's Stark's competitor.
Well, no, it's Rhodey. It's Rhodes from the end of Civil War after the airport thing when they said 35-year-old colonel, Marine colonel was crushed wearing some experimental suit.
Okay. But it's not Cheadle's character.
Yeah, that's who. That's.
But it's not.
But it is.
But it ain't.
But it is.
Then they got to fix some timeline shit.
Yeah, they said that's part of the problem. They said they're going to try to figure that out, but that was, I think, the original intention. Although it screwed.
Come on, Feige, you have one job: just keep all these timelines consistent.
And evidently, I didn't know this. Evidently, the other one was because as soon as I heard it when they're running it down, they said there's a young woman who was struck by lightning, and it's messing up the implant to keep something with her schizophrenia.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, that's going to be something, and I'm not deep enough in the Marvel Universe to know what it is. And what I read in the one article, they said that very likely is going to be Captain Marvel, the Brie Larson movie. That's what her thing is going to be. And I was like, yeah, that's an Easter egg. That's a definite...
I'm curious about how people are going to, because... whether it's, I don't know, my own lack of imagination. When I hear Captain Marvel, I think male. I just do, But I'm thrilled to death that, so I'm hoping the film does well when people understand Captain Marvel is a female.
Yeah.
And a kick-ass female. I mean, she's talented, she's gorgeous, she's got Brie Larson
she's a phenomenal actor. Yeah,
she does. Have you seen Room? We've talked about that.
I have not. I know.
Have you seen Breaking Bad? Have you seen Battlestar Galactica?
No.
And then you come back like, have you seen Stranger Things?
Yeah.
And I come back. Have you seen? I did watch the first new Black Mirror.
I've only watched like one Black Mirror at this point, but
oh my,
I know.
God. Well, you just saw the pig one.
Yeah, I saw the pig one.
Yeah, that's that's nothing. That's just what? No, it gets.
Yeah, that's
it will fuck you to your DNA.
Yeah, and I'm not looking forward to that. This is my problem.
It's
terrifying.
When you get caught up, and when I have finished, we will do probably a 3-parter, of which 2 parts will just be us in therapy. After, I mean, everyone says, I think it's episode 4 or 5, San Junipero is going to be the one that's just going to make you crawl into a corner and cry for a week.
Of the 3rd season?
Of the 3rd season of Black Mirror. And they're already casting the 4th.
Oh, good.
I was like, how many ways can technology fuck us? Well, Netflix is going to fund enough episodes to find out.
Yeah.
So, yay. But back to Brie Larson. I'm hoping Captain Marvel does well. Marvel would be smart to pop her in as a cameo or a B or C story in one of the larger films before spinning her off.
The big rumor is that she's going to pop up in the first Infinity War.
Infinity War.
Yeah, I don't think she's going to pop up. I think Strange is going to pop up in Thor, obviously now with the tag.
Which tag? Tag 1 or tag 2?
The first tag.
The first tag. That's right, fuckers. In the middle of the credits, there's the tag, and you leave. No, I'm sorry. The band came back out and played 3 more songs after their second encore, and you didn't get to hear it because you had to get to your car and beat traffic. Fuck you.
There's always a second tag. At least Marvel, they started out with the 1 tag at the end. It's like, oh, that's interesting. And now it's like, well, now we're going to up the ante. We got to do 2 or 3. So they tagged Thor. And
God, wouldn't it be nice to at the end, no tags, and then at the end, another 20 minutes of the story. Just people will be like, I
don't know what just happened.
What happened? It's like another mini film after the film is over. Ferris Bueller, no.
But that was the big lead into another movie was they tagged Thor and Strange having tea together, and he's like, I've tasked myself with keeping up.
I want to go drinking with Doctor Strange.
Yeah, with the giant flagon of ale.
That it keeps refilling itself. I'm like, I like that. Yeah. And of course, at first you're like, oh wow, he drank that fast. That was funny. And then it refilled. You're like, oh, Strange. They're both.
Yeah.
They're going to be drinking buddies. That'd be good.
Yeah. And so I'm sure Strange is going to pop up in Thor Ragnarok, which I think is the next.
Yep. November 4th of 2017.
Okay, and then we're going to have Guardians 2 is before that.
That's the summer.
That's the summer.
And I think there's 2 other ones.
Yeah, there's something earlier.
I can't remember what.
Yeah.
I have a master list somewhere, but.
And I think, and they think Captain Marvel is going to pop up in Infinity War, and then
But that's not till 2018,
right? But I don't think her movie's till 2019. I think it's down the road.
She'll still be gorgeous and talented in 2019. So you do you, Brie.
Yep.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Just why does Dormammu? What the fuck?
Don't know.
It's like Leader Snoke. Like, God, get a fucking name that doesn't suck.
And that's like the name. I mean, that's old from the comics.
I know.
Well, it was the 70s.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll call him Dormammu
and Mordo and Strange.
Why does he want Earth so bad?
Why does everybody want Earth so bad?
Well, that's the thing. It's always the aliens have the entire universe, the multiverse, and Earth. We like Earth a lot. Now, I have one plausible theory.
Okay.
Apparently, we got a lot of Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
Either on our planet or directly connected to people from our planet.
Yeah.
So maybe that's it?
Well, at the moment, that's what's drawing everybody, man. That was one thing I was expecting to see. I was wondering if they were gonna when she was flinging him around through the dimensions. I was wondering if they were gonna show up and see Thanos. Yeah. But I think it is the Infinity Stones because I was reading a rundown. They were like, we're getting close to all of them because the Tesseract.
One left.
Yeah, the Tesseract was one. The thing in Loki's scepter was one. The orb in the Vision, the one in Vision's head, the orb in Guardians, and the Eye of Agamotto. And I think there's one more. And
there's one more.
Yeah,
and we have a feeling that is going to be. Something that comes up in, I think they said Thor, the 3rd Thor film.
Yeah, Ragnarok, which is coming up.
That could be it. So, interesting.
Yeah.
I like how One more time, Dormammu.
Dormammu, yeah.
Dormammu,
yeah.
It was like a big, big old
Space face.
big old space face, kind of big old space face, and I kind of like that bit of writing there at the end where it's like, well, die 1,000 times. You kept coming back.
Yeah.
And at first,
well,
you're
I
like,
can't beat him, so
I'm just going to keep him in an eternal time loop.
I'm here to bargain.
But it occurred to me afterwards as I was processing everything, gosh, I'm sure Dormammu knows about the Infinity Stones. There was one right around Strange's neck, right there. He could have reached out and maybe grabbed it instead of putting a pole through him or electrifying him, or the 10,000 ways he killed him before he came back and went, "Hey, I'm back, motherfuckers. What'd I miss? Oh, you're still here.
Dormammu, I'm here to bargain." That was a really great scene. Just the way,
because it went on long enough to like, I was starting to feel fatigued about the whole thing. It's like Dormammu, like, what do you want? I'm like, ha ha.
He did the old Columbo move of annoying.
Oh,
people.
one more thing.
Just one more thing.
One more
thing. I got it. Yeah. and I liked Benedict's just his read on it as it just kept changing, like, Dormammu, I'm here to bargain. Dormammu, I'm here to bargain. Dormammu, I'm here to bargain.
It's like they dubbed in the audio from his audition. Dormammu.
Yeah,
Dormammu.
Yeah. Just like, nope, I'm not going away.
And see,
I'm here to bargain.
That's that subtle bit of comedy executed well.
Yep.
I mean, now I've looked at the posts made by friends. I don't know how many are mutual with you. But it's been pretty evenly split between, oh my gosh, that was amazing, and what a hulking piece of shit.
Really? I haven't seen any people down on it.
Yes. Wow.
Really?
The person who thought it was a hulking piece of shit, he poo-poos a lot of things.
Oh, okay.
But, we're not going to name names because we're all about the love here on the podcast.
You'll tell me off mic.
But that son of a bitch. On a scale of, Frankenhooker to Citizen Kane, I'd give this movie a solid B.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a fucking masterpiece, but it's not fair to middling. It's like,
I enjoyed it a lot.
It's above average.
It didn't, it
didn't irritate me. It didn't pull me aside from
far from
the Hugh Laurie House impersonation that I got over quickly. Nothing really pulled me out of the film going, I see what they're about to do,
I liked it a lot. I'm just not, it didn't, grab and hold me. It's not like Guardians, where it's like, I want to go and buy this DVD right now.
I know. There are certain films where 20 minutes in, you're like, when does the Blu-ray come out?
I want this right now. I want to go watch this again right now. But I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I was going in going, it'll be okay. And it was great. I really enjoyed a lot of it,
Oh, yeah.
Or most of it.
I can't think of too much where I was like, nah, this sucks. It's
nothing. Absolutely not. No, nothing like that.
It's like, hey, we're in the mirror dimension now. You dumb motherfucker. Now this happens. Like, I didn't know. Like, well, maybe you complete your training before you start galvaning around and changing time and fucking with stuff.
Yeah,
dumbass.
Not a good idea.
Yeah, it's kind of like The Greatest American Hero. It's like, I don't have the instruction manual to this thing. How does this thing work? Whoa!
I was almost put off by the comedy of it because I was like, what does this want to be? Is it a comedy? It's not. But you were right. They balanced it very, very well.
They punctuate it rather than sustain it. There's never like a 1, 2, 3 joke. There's a joke that sometimes, like with the name like Adele, Beyonce, that might play out a little bit long, but it's not like joke 1 and joke 2 and joke 3. It's like, it's just punctuated and it's not ridiculous, and it's in character because he's still, ego, the ancient one, ego. Now let's face it, to be a superhero or a president, you kind of have to have a bit of ego.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I don't want a president that is unsure of them. It's like, I don't know, maybe I'm okay. I want a president that says,
fuck you.
You know what? I got my shit together, and I'm going to do my
bitch.
thing now. And hopefully, their ideas are ones that
right.
are gonna...
And you need, to fight crime and throw your, you got to definitely have an ego.
That's right, exactly.
But the comedy, going back to there's a Marvel shot that they're doing now that I keep seeing. That's been in a couple of movies where it was in it was Stan Lee's cameo in Deadpool, and it was Wong's in the library.
Yeah. By the way, how many years is that fucking DJ in Deadpool. I mean, if you're a DJ at a strip club in your fucking 80s.
90s.
Yeah.
He's 92, I think.
Like,
yeah.
holy crap.
Well, he said he really had a problem with that cameo. He didn't like it because it was very, very short. He wanted it to be a lot longer just because he was around all the beautiful women in the strip club.
Because of the beautiful women.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
that I can...
He's like, that was the problem with that. It was far too short.
It's like, Stan, we can shoot this cameo for a day, but on screen it's going to be about 4 seconds.
So, I'm going to need a month. I'm going to need a
yeah,
month.
exactly. I
But
got my own
they
trailer.
They did that same shot where when he in his cameo in I think it was Deadpool. No, it wasn't in Deadpool. It was one of those Spider-Man movies where he was playing a that's what it was. It was in the Spider-Man reboot. He's standing in the foreground as a mailman or something, and he's got the headphones on and he's doing the thing while a whole bunch of crap is going behind. The big fight's going on behind him. Right. They did the same shot with Wong where he was sitting listening to single ladies, and very cleverly Cumberbatch was opening portals into the library and stealing books. That was a really cool little scene. He's turning back and forth, looking back and forth. Wait.
Well, if I did it once on the left, once on the right, I was like, okay. And then he took the book the guy was actually reading. I was like, nice.
Yeah.
Is this Kamar-Taj or is this fucking Hogwarts?
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So, yeah. No, it was a good... It wasn't heavy. It wasn't light. It was right about the middle.
It's a good flick. Good flick. Solid, yeah.
It was a good, solid B. I'm sure it could have been better in places, but off the top of my head, I don't have any screaming comments that go, oh, you should have done this. Like, you know what?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I had a fun time.
I support your choices, even if I don't particularly care for 100% of them. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked, obviously, about... Mordo and how he yanked old Benji Brett's magic
took
out
his
of him.
mojo.
Too many sorcerers, so that likely is going to be the A story.
Oh yeah,
of the next one. Maybe not the only story, but it probably will be the A story.
Yeah, he's going to be the
B
big bad
story.
of the next one for sure.
So, so in Doctor Strange, and we know what's going to happen because it said Doctor Strange will return,
yeah.
which adds that kind of James Bond will return.
Yeah.
And I kind of I like that,
Yep.
But I think doesn't Marvel do that in most of their films now? Like the Avengers will return. Do they do that?
They've done it in a couple, I think, but it's not standard. It's not like the tags.
Yeah, because at the end of Iron Man 3, don't say Iron Man will return.
Yeah, we know that.
Mean, he'll return in the Avengers, but not in another Iron Man film,
right?
Because he said no.
Yeah, he said no,
and probably wisely.
Yeah.
I think Iron Man's well established enough now that unless a really good script that is just so brilliant that fits perfectly into the universe, let him stay with the Avengers and bitch around with.
But he keeps popping up. He's going to be in
half a dozen other.
Well, he's going to be in the Spider-Man movie. I know that's established. He's going to be in something else too.
And talk about comic relief.
No one does it better. No one does it better than him.
He's got that kind of he has that kind of haughty batch of hubris that's backed up by actual, you can back it up.
Yeah, it's just like
he thinks he's the bomb, and he kind of is the bomb. Like in some
almost
cases, literally the bomb. Yeah, exactly.
But I mean that another casting genius. He is that guy.
And when you think 15 years ago, he was strung out on drugs and having problems in and out of.
Well, that was the story. Favreau was like, no, it's got to be him, and they were like, no, he's not the guy, and he's like, no, he's the guy, and he was fucking right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, in regards to sequels,
Yeah.
I've heard a little bit of a rumor that in the second Doctor Strange film, Mordo is going to be paired up with somebody.
Oh, who?
Apparently, they're going to bring in
medication time. Medication time.
We ran out of time. I will tell you next week.
The 9 Billion Names of Pod was conceived, written, and performed by Michael Reed and Dan Bauman, with Abdul Benny Hassan as the sound of splintering wood. Research, transportation, and exasperated looks by Courtney Loden. Technical assistance by Cubase, Pro Tools, Skynet, QLab, Deep Thought, Big Brother, and Eddie, your shipboard computer. Financial consideration provided by the Wayne Foundation, Stark Industries, the Piranha Brothers, and LexCorp. Legal counsel by the Office of Howard and Fine. Dormammu. Our intro music was written by Tim Akers. This podcast was sponsored by Deep Shag Records and it's a production of Audio Primate. Throw us a couple stars on iTunes, why don't you? Check us out on dadsgarageradio.net. Listen Watch on YouTube, listen on SoundCloud, stream us on Stitcher, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, or email us, comlink@billionpod.com. Until this happens again, I'm Dan Bauman.
I'm Michael Reed.
LOZ.
Audio Primate.
Dormammu. Oh, come on, continue.
I don't know what you're doing. Oh,
Dormammu. Oh, forget about it. Okay.